Let's bring in Professor Siphamandla Zondi, Director of the Institute for Pan-African Thought and Conversation at the University of Johannesburg. Prof, good afternoon. Thanks for your time here on the SABC.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers.
Prof, what do you make of the decision by the ANC's National Executive Committee that it would be prudent for South Africa to withdraw from the International Criminal Court? It's not the first time we're hearing these sentiments.
It is definitely not the first time. There was a bit of discussion about this in the aftermath of the last controversy over al-Bashir, which South Africa could not arrest because he was a sitting president, and it feared the repercussions of arresting a sitting African president when it was hosting an African Union summit. After that, it was decided, it was discussed, and the ANC conference in 2017 decided that it was prudent for South Africa to pull out. But that decision then changed, so that by the last conference in 2022, the ANC decided that perhaps it was not right to decide to withdraw, but then to stay within the ICC and try and change things from within. I guess the return of the al-Bashir dilemma now over the fact that it's supposed to host the summit of the BRICS, and now it has to arrest one of its guests, and then it realizes that perhaps the decision in 2017 was a correct one. And the implications of it, though, are that all the obligations of South Africa during the time when South Africa was a member continue to apply even after South Africa withdraws. And also, last one is related to how this matter is communicated across the world, and how we then deal with impunity and other issues.
Absolutely, Prof. Let's get into some of those issues that will come to the fore. I mean, it could take about 2 years for this process to undergo. I want to know, what the impact is going to be on Vladimir Putin visiting the country if he does attend for the BRICS summit in August. And what are the domestic implications, the international implications of South Africa's withdrawal from the ICC?
Yeah, in terms of the obligations for South Africa to act on the arrest warrant, will apply by the time President Putin is supposed to be in the country in August, but will also apply even 4 or 5 years, 10 years later, because under current arrangement, you are liable for decisions that were taken while you were in. You are still obligated, even after you've left the ICC, you will still be obligated on this matter. But then South Africa has many options there to exercise to do that. It may decide to ignore this, and then there'll probably be some court challenge to try and enforce this decision. South Africa may actually ignore that, like it did with al-Bashir, or it may decide that it manages this by ensuring that maybe they convert the meeting to a virtual meeting or other decisions that may be made. So, but options must be taken at a political level. Now, with regards to the international implications of this, the ICC has about 124 members, which is less than the 50% of all the members of the United Nations. It has not been able to win the support of the major countries of the world, especially the ones that decide the international opinion, the ones that have impact on you internationally. So pretty much it's an isolated, marginalized organization, sadly, because it has a huge role to play. And how it has conducted itself sometime maybe have also brought that difficulty upon itself. So there's limited international implications for this, but there are huge implications for ICC, because if South Africa joins Namibia, joins other countries in withdrawing, it would may encourage some other countries to also withdraw on the basis of the same difficulties that South Africa has.
Yeah, absolutely. If we look through the lens of South Africa, what we stand to gain by exiting, I mean, it ultimately weakens the ICC, and as you mentioned, other countries may follow suit. We heard from President Cyril Ramaphosa indicating that the decision was informed by the double standards of the ICC, its unfairness. Do we have a right to argue that that this in fact could support the ANC NEC's decision? I also want you to include, the ICC's relationship to the UN Security Council, the lack of focus on violations, that are not of Africa as well.
Yeah, it's a sad one. That's why I say, in a way, its conduct has brought difficulties upon it. And its failure to act on the most glaring violations of international law and war crimes, such as the US invasion of Iraq and of Afghanistan, and the NATO reckless action in invading Libya and contributing to the assassination of the Libyan leader in 2011 and a whole host of other people that got arrested, got killed, disappeared as a result of that. Its failure to act on those does diminish confidence in its ability to bring about international justice rather than partisan justice. And therefore, it's the rush with which it has now acted on Russia, which is a big state as well, suggests that it acts hard on those the West once acted hard on, and it would not act even on a mere soldier in the West. And that's a big problem. It creates a serious problem. It suggests that it's an institution that is kind of etched in the past where the West was in control, but we've gone towards a more multipolar world, and it has not been able to act this way. It's an unfortunate one because it's not just a perception, but it's a pattern of behavior that it has not been even-handed and non-partisan and quite hard on Africans. Of course, cases brought by Africans themselves too.
Prof, it also perhaps opens the conversation to explore alternatives. I want to end up this conversation by asking you a two-pronged question, just very quickly, so that the answer didn't get lost in translation, because I know you answered it early on. But the ANC, did admit that the process will take, the withdrawal from the ICC will take about 2 years. Perhaps you could just reiterate your stance on what will happen in the interim as the BRICS summit is coming up in August. In the same breath, when we look at what options are available for the continent, should other countries join in with South Africa, we've got the AU member states looking at the African Court of Justice. Is this something that we could also explore? Would this also help to restore our agency as a continent in seeking justice? How would you weigh in on that?
Yes, the obligations under the treaty will remain in force up to the point when we withdraw from the city. And then the obligations that were decided that we got when we were members, which means up to this far and up to the point when the membership ceases, will continue. We'll still be bound by those in terms of the law. It takes this 2-year period, and that 2-year period, it may be a painful 2 years because we will still be stuck in the process. But definitely it seems to me that this may open a can of worms and lead to more and more withdrawal from the ICC and further weaken its ability to do what it needs to do. It is just said that those who run it and those influence and those who finance it have not seen wisdom in ensuring that it is even-handed, so that it is seen as truly international rather than regional or rather than geopolitical, as it seems to be positioned right now. It's a sad one, but it's a reality. The implications then for us on the African continent has been, you need to strengthen the regional mechanisms for dealing with impunity, for dealing with violation of people's rights, for dealing with the war crimes that happen on the continent. And we need those because that was the reason why many people ended up referring matters to the ICC. It was because the African Court on Human and People's Rights was not fully effective, and other mechanisms that can be built up at sub-regional level have also not been effective. Now, as South Africa decides to withdraw effectively through this decision of the governing party, there is an obligation on South Africa to work hard to make sure that the continental mechanisms for ensuring the protection of people's rights are operationalized fully, and they are seen to be effective to close this gap that will be led by departure, that will be caused by the departure from the ICC.
Prof, thank you for your time. Thank you for those sentiments, for weighing in the back of the ANC's National Executive Committee. Coming out to say, resolving to press ahead with South Africa's withdrawal from the International Criminal Court. Professor Siphamandla Zondi, Director of the Institute for Pan-African Thought and Conversation at the University of Johannesburg, weighing in on that conversation. Thank you to him again for his time.